Welcome to my Vengeance Demon Hunter tanking guide for dungeons and group content. In this video, I'll cover all the essentials of playing the spec. You can find chapter links in the description below if you want to skip ahead to specific parts. Have any questions or suggestions? Drop them in the comments and let me know if you'd like to see a raiding or solo delve guide in the future. Let's dive into the hero talents. For dungeon and grouped content, Felskart is outperforming Aldraki Reaver for quite a bit, so that's the one I'll be focusing on. Starting with Demon Surge. When you enter demon form through Metamorphosis or Fel Devastation, your first casts of Soul Cleave and Spirit Bomb explode with Fel energy, dealing 200% of your attack power as fire damage. Focused Hatred boosts this by 50% against a single target, and Demonic Intensity gives 10% more damage to Fel Devastation, Immolation Aura and Sigil of Flame if you trigger Metamorphosis while already in demon form. For utility, Wave of Debilitation slows enemy cast speed by 15% and movement speed by 60% with Chaos Nova. Violent Transformation resets Sigil of Flame and Fel Devastation cooldowns when you activate Metamorphosis, while Student of Suffering adds a mastery buff to Sigil of Flame and generates 5 Fury every 2 seconds. Passives like Set Fire to the Pain stagger 5% of non-fire damage over 6 seconds, and Burning Blades adds 35% of your weapon attack damage as a dot. Other perks include Untethered Fury, giving 50 extra Fury, Monster Rising, giving 8% agility boost outside of demon form, and Enduring Torment, giving 5% health and 20% armor boost, also outside of demon form. Before we get into the talents, I'm covering them in a different order than you'll choose them in your tree, focusing on key synergies. This will help you not only follow the build, but understand why these talents work together. Let's start with the spec tree. Fel Devastation is one of your core spells. Always fully channel it because Dark Lair Boon reduces its cooldown and refunds Fury, making it more efficient. The tree then splits. The left focuses on Chaos themed fire damage, while the right focuses on Fel themed fire damage, and the middle leans more towards defensive value. On the right side, Fairybrand is essential. It reduces enemy damage by 40% for 12 seconds and boosts your fire damage significantly. Pair it with Fairy Demise, which increases your fire damage by another 40%, and Burning Alive, which causes Fairybrand to spread to nearby enemies. This setup can deal heavy damage while also providing some defensive value when needed. Other key talents on this side include Ascending Flame, which increases the initial damage of Sigil of Flame by 50%, Chains of Anger, which extends the duration and radius of your sigils, and Illuminated Sigils, which reduces Sigil of Flame's cooldown and gives you an additional charge. Plus, it increases your parry chance against affected enemies. Further down the right, Burning Blood amplifies your fire damage, and you'll find several talents that enhance Immolation Aura. Volatile Flame Blood generates Fury on critical strikes. Foul Flame Fortification reduces magic damage taken while Immolation Aura is active, and Charred Flash extends the duration of Fairybrand. Now moving to the left side, Fallout empowers Immolation Aura with a chance to spawn lesser soul fragments, while Agonizing Flames increases the aura's duration and grants a speed boost while it is active. Frailty is a cornerstone for self-sustain, applying a debuff to enemies hit by Sigil of Flame and healing you for 8% of the damage you deal. Fracture is excellent for generating Fury and soul fragments, while Perfectly Balanced Glaive reduces your glaive cooldown, making it useful for the far pulls within a dungeon. Spirit Bomb is crucial for both AoE damage and healing, consuming soul fragments to deal extra damage and heal for 8% of the damage dealt. It also applies Frailty to all enemies hit, doubling your healing if they already have Frailty up. Void Reaver reduces the damage you take from enemies affected by Frailty, and Soul Cleave also applies Frailty, further strengthening your survivability. To amplify Frailty, Vulnerability increases your damage against affected enemies, and Soul Crush lets frailty stacks overlap. Wrapping to the left side, Soul Furnace boosts your next Soul Cleave or Spirit Bomb by 40% after consuming 10 Soul Fragments. Focused Cleave increases single target Soul Cleave damage, and Soul Carver provides good single target damage and extra Soul Fragment generation. In the center of the tree, you'll find Deflecting Spikes, which boosts Demon Spike's parry chance by 15% for 6 seconds, and Extended Spikes, which adds 2 seconds to Demon Spike's duration. Sigil of Silence is perfect for controlling casters, providing an AoE silence for 4 seconds, forcing them to move towards you. If you prefer a more defensive setup, you can swap out Soul Furnace, Soul Carver and Volatile Flame Blood for Painbringer, which reduces damage taken by 1% for 6 seconds per Soul Fragment consumed, and Feed the Demon, which lowers Demon Spike's cooldown for each Soul Fragment consumed. The class talents. In dungeons, there's not much variation in talent choices. For movement, Vengeful Retreat offers a minor damage, and Blazing Path grants an extra charge to Infernal Strike, which is invaluable. Erratic Felheart reduces Infernal Strike's cooldown as well, boosting your mobility. For crowd control, Sigil of Misery and Chaos Nova provide solid AoE options, while Imprison offers strong single target control with its 1 minute cooldown. For glaive focused talents, Bouncing Glaives allows Throw Glaive to hit an additional target, and Champion of the Glaives gives it another charge with increased range, making it great for dungeon pulls. Improved Disrupt extends your interrupt range by 10 yards, which is super handy in a dungeon environment. In terms of offensive abilities, Fellblade and Sigil of Spite bring solid AoE damage to your rotation, with Sigil of Spite delivering particularly strong AoE hits. Collective Anguish enhances your Fell Devastation by summoning a Havoc Demon Hunter to cast Eye Beam for extra damage, and the Demonic talent puts you into demon form for 5 seconds after Fell Devastation, adding even more damage and survivability. For Sigil enhancement, Soul Sigils generate a Soul Fragment from enemies hit by any Sigil, while Quicken Sigils makes them activate 1 second faster. Flames of Fury boosts Sigil of Flame damage by 70% and generates extra Fury, adding significant AoE burst. On the Immolation Aura front, Aura of Pain increases its crit chance by 6% and Infernal Armor boosts your armor by 20% while reflecting some melee damage as fire damage. Rounding out the class tree are passive bonuses. Shattered Restoration increases the healing from shattered souls by 10%. Charred Warblades heals you for 4% of the fire damage you deal, and Aldraki Design increases parry chance by 3%. Soul Rending boosts your leech by 10%, doubled during Metamorphosis, while Illidari Knowledge reduces magic damage taken by 5%. Will of the Illidari increases your max health by 5%, and Infernal Struggle enhances your gear's armor value. When it comes to gearing, item level is king. Higher item level means more agility, stamina and armor, which is crucial early in the season when gear choices are limited. I've made a separate video capturing these stats just for fun, showing how close they can be. Now let's break down the stats in order of importance. Agility is your top stat. It boosts your attack power, ability damage and dodge chance while increasing your armor when Demon Spikes is active. Critical Strike is our most important secondary stat. It increases the chance for your attacks to deal double damage and healing, and also boosts your parry chance, helping you avoid melee hits. Haste speeds up your global cooldown, lets you attack more frequently and reduces cooldowns for Immolation Aura, Fracture and Demon Spikes. While there's a GCD cap of 0.75 seconds, Haste keeps reducing ability cooldowns with no upper limit. If you prefer a more defensive playstyle, you might prioritize Haste. but I like to balance both crit and haste depending on my gear drops. Versatility is straightforward. It increases your damage and healing while reducing the damage you take by half of the stat value. Mastery is our least valuable stat. It increases attack power and armor during demon spikes, but its value drops outside of that. Some talents make it more viable, but overall other stats have more impact. It's important to remember that the more you stack a stat, the more valuable other stats become due to the diminishing returns. Once you reach a certain threshold, a stat's value decreases by 10% for every additional tier. For example, at 30% crit, the game reduces the amount you gain from gear, and at 40% the reduction increases. This makes balancing stats like haste, versatility or even mastery more beneficial as you approach these thresholds. This constant balancing is what makes gearing so much fun for min-maxers. When upgrading your gear, prioritize your weapons first. For melee classes, weapons offer the biggest boost to stats and damage. The same goes for trinkets, but only upgrade them if you have top tier options. After that, focus on your helm, chest or legs, as these provide the highest agility and stat values per item level. For crafted gear, start with a main hand weapon and pair it with the Blessed Weapon Grip embellishment. It's one of the strongest options. If you later get a better weapon drop, you can move this one to your offhand. Other great crafted choices include the Adrenal Surge Clasp or items with the elemental focusing lens, such as the Consecrated Cloak, rune-branded armbands, kickers or waistband. Trinkets depend on your gear sources and luck with the vault. I often check Blood Mallet for the best performing trinkets based on raw stats or WoW meta to see the community favorites. Links to these resources are in the description below. As for consumables, I'll keep this quick. I've already covered stats and you can reference WoWhead, for which I put the link in the description below to see the corresponding enhancements. What I want to emphasize is the importance of enchants and gems. These can account for a significant portion of your overall stats, so make sure you're fully gemmed and enchanted, even if you can't afford the top tier versions due to the high prices currently. For gems, prioritize the one that gives agility first, unless you expect to replace that item soon. After that, go for haste or crit depending on your needs. Versatility may become more important at max item level or when you reach those diminishing returns thresholds on haste and crit moreover. Understanding the core mechanics of Vengeance Demon Hunter is crucial. You have two primary resources, Fury and Soul Fragments. Avoid capping on Fury. In AoE situations, your goal is to quickly generate 4 to 5 Soul Fragments using Sigil of Flame, Fell Devastation, Soul Carver and Immolation Aura. Once you have enough fragments, spend them on Spirit Bomb for big damage and healing. Spreading Frailty is a passive effect, so be aware of it, but don't chase it. For Fury spenders in AoE, use Spirit Bomb, Fell Devastation or Soul Cleave if you're at max Fury without enough Soul Fragments to spend. For active mitigation, your main tool is Demon Spikes, which boosts your armor for physical damage mitigation. With its longer cooldown, make sure to space out your charges based on incoming damage. For your opener, start with Sigil of Flame, then leap in front of the enemy pack and avoid leaping into the middle, as this exposes your back to attacks. If timed correctly, Sigil of Flame will activate as soon as you land. If you have leftover soul fragments from a previous pull, use Spirit Bomb for extra damage, healing and threat. Follow up with Demon Spikes and Immolation Aura. Then use Fracture to quickly generate more Fury and Soul Fragments. As mentioned in the talents, Sigil of Flame applies a debuff that boosts your damage and mitigates incoming damage. Refresh this debuff if needed or before using Metamorphosis, which resets its cooldown. Since Demon Spikes has a long cooldown, space out abilities like Fell Devastation, Fairy Demise and Metamorphosis during high damage pulls. If your health drops quickly, chain these defensives to maintain constant mitigation or healing. For a more aggressive and bursty approach, focus on spreading Frailty and Fairy Demise. Then cycle through Fell Devastation, Spirit Bomb, Sigil of Flame and Soul Cleave quickly. Use Metamorphosis just before your demon form from the Fell Devastation ends for a stacking damage buff and a fresh set of empowered abilities. After the burst, prepare for more vulnerability, so plan this burst opener carefully. And a pro tip: identify priority interrupts like fierce or AoE spells in enemy packs. Make it your responsibility to handle these, ensuring a smoother run and reducing the risk of pug groups falling apart. When tanking a boss, the general rotation still applies, but you'll need to watch out for tank buster abilities, which hit harder at higher difficulties. Always have a defensive cooldown ready for these moments, and be mindful of whether the damage is magical or physical. Demon Spikes won't help against magic damage, so plan your defensive accordingly, and ideally use an add-on like DBM or anything similar to know upfront when these abilities come. In terms of rotation, prioritize Fell Blade, Soul Cleave and Fracture over Spirit Bomb in single target situations. Make sure to keep Frailty and the Sigil of Flame debuff active on the boss to maximize damage mitigation and output. Fellblade is a strong fury generator in both AoE and single target, and can also act as a gap closer when necessary. That wraps up my Vengeance Demon Hunter guide. I hope you found it helpful and are ready to tank those dungeons with confidence. If you enjoyed the video or learned something new, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want more Demon Hunter tips, guides and updates, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss a thing. I've got more content coming soon and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.